Hello from Salvatore De Rosa. We are in Rome for the 80th Italian Society of Cardiology Congress, and we are honored to have this year with us Professor Robert Bonow, distinguished professor at Feinberg Medical School in Chicago, and the editor-in-chief of JAMA Cardiology. He was today in a session presenting the future strategies and development of the journal, and I would like to take the chance to ask him about what is the advices you could provide for young researchers approaching your publication, and which top mistakes one should avoid.
Well, we all make mistakes, and none of us are accustomed to being rejected, and yet we are rejected many times in our careers with our manuscripts we want to publish, with the grants we want to get funded, and doctors are overachievers. We are not used to rejection, so the most important advice is to not give up. Perseverance is what leads to success. It is not the smart people who succeed, because we're all smart. It's the people who do not give up. So keep your eyes on the goal, keep the passion, keep writing, and then write some more, and then write some more. So you must be writing if you want to have a successful academic career. So think of the projects, and then the next projects, and how the current project will lead to many, many others. It should not be a dead end. Those are very general thoughts, but I think those are important ideas for young people who want to succeed in academics, because it is difficult, it's challenging, it's competitive, and you must keep your eye on the goal and maintain your passion for your work. But then we choose a journal, you choose a topic. The other important aspect of early careers also is having good mentors, because the mentors and the advisors can keep you on the pathway and also help you identify the best journals to publish your work.
May I ask you, how many of the articles you see are rejected because they are out of topics or out of the scope of your journal?
Yeah, so that's the other important thing. If you have data and you are writing the manuscript, you need to target the manuscript for the right journal, which depends on the readership. So in cardiology, we have basic science journals. We have journals that are only clinical. And then we have journals that are a little of each, where they will publish science articles, usually in areas that are of clinical interest, but also ones that are leading to clinical relevance. So you need to choose a journal. It means read the journal, see what kind of papers are being published, read the instructions. So in JAMA Cardiology, for example, we are talking about clinical papers, papers that involve real people, patients, individuals. Although we occasionally will publish data that is very basic, related to genes or animal studies, that also move to patients. So as long as there are patients involved in the study. So if you have data in rabbits or mice, but then you have translated this also into human studies, that would be a paper for us also. We also write review articles many times. We publish review articles on basic science topics that we believe are very important for clinicians to be aware of. Things like clonal hematopoiesis, for example, or CRISPR.
Oh yes.
So
clonal hematopoiesis is a growing field, and so you are a recognized expert in the field of heart failure and valve disease. We've seen a very interesting paper in your journal about chronic ischemic heart failure and the risk associated with clonal hematopoiesis. Do you think there will be a future for this topic?
Well, it's a very hot topic right now in many areas, not just in cardiovascular disease, but also in cancer and in hematopoietic malignancies in general. But I think is a area for good investigation right now. I don't know where it's going because it's early in the field, so that is both good news and bad news for a scientist. Because if you are in this field, you are now at the beginning of something which could be very important, and you become a leader in that field. What we don't know is where it is going and whether it will lead to major breakthroughs or not. But it is, from a pathophysiologic point of view, I think it's very interesting how the clonal mechanisms can lead to more inflammation and vascular disease. As well as perhaps even valve disease involving inflammation of aortic valves.
And just the last question: how much is the form important when trying to publish a scientific report, and which are the top 5 mistakes that young people should avoid to get published?
Well, first of all, you want to be sure that the message is important. This is an important topic that people want to read. We are interested in publishing papers that are going to be interesting for our readers, that they can pick up the journal and look at the cover and they recognize many or most of the topics. We want it to be clinically relevant. We are looking for papers that are also innovative and novel. If it's just a set of data which replicate what has been done before, many times we are not interested, unless it is important to demonstrate that the early findings can be replicated and can be generalized. So if we have a manuscript that's coming in from Europe, for example, and it's a multi-center study from all over Europe, well, that's important because it gives us a broad-based population, as opposed to a more homogeneous population. So novelty is important. Also, we think it's very important to make a clear message. The writing needs to be clear. So when you write the manuscripts, have other people read it many times and give you input and feedback and criticism to make it better. So have it read many times and read it yourself many times. Write it, put it aside for a day or two, and then read it again to be sure that the message is clear. We are very interested in papers that are also clear in the conclusions of their data. You don't want to overemphasize how important you feel your data are. Just state the facts clearly. You can interpret the facts relative to what has been published previously, but don't try to oversell the manuscript. The reviewers will not like that, and if the reviewers feel that this is the biggest and best and most important paper in the field, they will recognize that. You don't have to tell them that either. And then finally, unless you're dealing with a randomized clinical trial and you have more observational data, which are still very important from registries or other databases, even small studies, remember, those are not proof of concept. They're not proving causality. They are observational studies. Therefore, they're showing associations. So we're very critical sometimes about authors who try to say that their data are showing cause and effect when they're really just showing an association. I think you'll find that happens in most journals. Well, that would not lead to a rejection, but it would certainly lead to recommendations for significant revisions, just to state the facts more clearly. Finally, be careful of your biostatistical models. Statistics is getting very complicated now. I learned statistics by trial and error. You can't do that anymore. You need to be really careful with the methodology and the statistics. Many times that means bringing in a statistician to be part of the team of authors to make sure that the methods are very rigorous. Because most of us, when we get a new manuscript, we look at the title, We look at the abstract, and then we read the methods very carefully, just to be sure that the methods, the patients are being described very carefully and clearly and completely, so we knew who the patients are, and then the methods are also very clearly stated.
So thank you again to Professor Bonow for these very interesting advices and a perspective on how to publish in a top-ranking journal. And that's all. So goodbye from the Italian Society of Cardiology National Congress in Rome.